Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great privilege to be here and to represent the students. So my name is Catherine, and I was born in Durban in South Africa. And 10 years ago, I felt called to be a missionary, specifically in South Sudan. I had a human resource management degree through University of Cape Town and a primary school degree as well, and then a 6-month missionary training with Youth with a Mission. So off I went to South Sudan, joining a multicultural team from Australia, America, Kenya, and also South Africa. It was an amazing experience. We lived amongst the people, we learned the culture, and we learned the language. And our aim was to plant churches in unreached areas. This was an incredible experience for me, and during that time, I got to know my husband, and we got married, and he had planted a church in an unreached village called Ohilang. And in that time, shortly after we were married, he died of cancer. It was a very, very difficult time for me. And I grew very close to Jesus in that time. And God kept laying the Lopit people in South Sudan on my heart, and a church that was now without a shepherd because he had died. So as a widow, I decided to return alone. I went into the bush. But before that, I thought, I can't go into church planting when I haven't studied theology. So I searched for various Bible schools, but all of them required me to be 3 to 4 years in the Bible school, which meant I would be not in South Sudan for that period of time. So then my mentor, she suggested I explore SATS, which I did. And it was amazing. From the time I met the staff, they were very welcoming, and they tailor-made a bachelor degree for me that would equip me with my missionary work in South Sudan. So I enrolled on a journey that I will never forget. So I returned to South Sudan. The elders in the village allocated me a piece of land where I pitched a tent. I cooked over a fire, and I drank water from the water well and washed my clothes with the local people. Then studying, I had a solar system which allowed me to study between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. every day. It was a limited time and very challenging. I also got malaria 8 times, and so it was very, very difficult to study in these conditions. Then Dr. Rubin invited me to come here to South Africa to speak to the staff, which I did in one of their devotions, and many tutors were invited. When I shared my challenges and they realized I had no electricity, they said, "How on earth are you studying and completing all your assignments?" I said, "With great difficulty." So they suggested, "Why don't you get a Kindle?" And I was like, "Well, I'm a missionary, I can't really afford that." And so they prayed and they made a collection. And the SAT staff themselves, out of that collection, purchased me a Kindle, which equipped me for the studies that I continued in South Sudan, studying for 8 years. Now I want to move on to thank the tutors. They had a very challenging task in our first year. My assignments were very colorful because I was a pre-primary school teacher, so my cover page was sunflowers, and all the way through the assignments I had pictures. And the tutors had to be very patient with me, explaining to me that an academic paper didn't really need to have pictures. So they were extremely patient with me in guiding me, in helping me, equipping me. In each assignment I improved, and I want to specifically thank them all for their help in my life and everybody else's lives who is here today. I'd like to mention and honor one particular professor or doctor, Dr. Robert Falconer. I was busy in South Sudan doing an assignment. Now you're going to hear the real story. I was busy doing an assignment on doctrine of the church, and of course I was applying all my missionary work that I was doing within the assignments. And of course, he got very inspired about the work I was doing and marked my assignments. And after that, he asked me if he could support me as a missionary, which he did for a year. He received my prayer updates, prayed for me, sent me emails that encouraged me. And then, of course, I wrote a book of all my experience as a widow and missionary life called Turiana. And he bought that book and he read that book. And then we started to fall in love. I'd never met him. I'd only written to him, and so my dad suggested, "Kathy, you better come home to meet this man face to face." So I met him face to face, and we fell in love. And it's a beautiful God story. because we both felt in that time called to get married, and both our parents were a huge encouragement, and I want to honor them. They're here today. And I honor you for encouraging us, for supporting us. I went back to South Sudan with a letter from my dad saying to the village chief, I've been called home to get married. So it was customary and acceptable to do that. A Kenyan couple took over my work in South Sudan, and then I returned to South Africa and got married. And our mission organization called us as a couple to continue their Bible school in Kenya, equipping pastors, young people, and elders with the work that they are doing in their various churches. So I hope that this story encourages you, that through everything, God works to the good of those who love him. Romans 8:28. And I want to thank the SATS staff and the SATS tutors, as I've mentioned, and I want to address the students. I hope your experience with SATS has been good, and I hope that you continue to run the race that is set before you, not in your own strength, but in God's strength, and that he knows what he's doing in your lives. The other thing is, you're graduating today, you may not continue to study, and studying and learning began with SATS, and it can continue. Keep reading, keep studying, and don't only talk what you read, but walk the talk. Thank you.